Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on when you view this. Dr. Claire is currently involved in reviewing the job descriptions for the staff working in the HIV clinic. The word is job. Therefore, here in Kenya, we pronounce this book of the Bible, job. That's what I've been calling it for the last 35 years. For some unknown reason, or maybe some of you know the reason, in the UK we call it Job. English can be very confusing. So if I pronounce Job, or is it job, wrong, do forgive me. The chapter in the lectionary for today is 38 and verses 31 to 41. For many people, Job and the questions raised are really difficult. Does God cause suffering? Does God allow suffering? In 2003, Dr. Ziegler, our surgeon, and his wife, Birgit, our chief theatre nurse, mission partners from Germany, died in a road accident just outside Nairobi, leaving 4 orphaned children. It was a terrible time in the history of Maua Methodist Hospital, and many people found the incident hard to come to terms with. Our Bible study group decided to study the book of Job to see if we could find any answers about why this tragedy had occurred, especially to faithful Christians who dedicated their lives and their work to God. Did God cause it? Did God allow it? What we discovered is that there are no easy answers to our questions about life's inexplicable tragedies. In today's Bible reading, after all Job's suffering and being told by his wife to blame God, and by his friends that it was his own fault because of his sins, it was now God's turn to speak to Job. God asks him, "Can you sort out the stars, control the universe, determine the laws of nature on the earth? Who did all these things? Who provides food for the wild animals or the birds?" We are reminded that God is in control, not us. Over the last 23 months, COVID has left us not feeling in control. We face lockdowns, fear of getting COVID, uncertainty of when a vaccine would come. Will we need boosters? What about new variants emerging in countries like Kenya that still has only 2% of the population fully vaccinated? Thousands of people have died, families bereaved, jobs lost. We may not understand why COVID came, why God allowed it, but it has happened. And so my question is, as Christians, how are we reacting to it? How did we respond to lockdown, face masks, distancing? Did we moan and complain, saying that face masks are a personal decision, or did we, and even now do we, accept and say, it's a small price to pay to protect those around me? Tragedies happen. When I was a junior nurse working in an infectious diseases hospital in Manchester, a young man was admitted to our ward with tetanus. He'd got a wound when he was playing rugby a few days beforehand. He was married, and his wife was 6 months pregnant. All the staff were devastated when that young man died. When I was a ward sister on the medical ward in Blackburn, we had a 24-year-old man admitted after collapsing when playing football. He was sent to the Hammersmith Hospital in London for further tests, and they discovered that he had an enlarged heart, and they sent him back to us for further management. He sadly died, and I can remember sitting in the duty room with his mother. She was crying her eyes out. And I sat and held her hand, not saying anything because I felt there was nothing to say. A mother in our ward here in Mawa had just lost her third baby near the end of pregnancy. She was weeping and saying that she could not return home because her husband would throw her away and her in-laws would disown her. She could not give them a child. Such sadness. Some friends of ours who were mission partners here in the 1990s had their house completely burnt down in the California wildfires a year ago. They lost everything except what they carried in their car as they fled the fire. Many heartbreaking things happen, and we have no answer to the why question. Sometimes we're told if you pray and you have faith, you or your relative will be healed. But that doesn't always happen. And all that we're left with is a guilty feeling that we did not have enough faith. I don't believe that's how God wants us to react. On July 19th in the UK, we celebrated Freedom Day, ending most of the restrictions brought in to control the spread of COVID. To wear a mask or not? Now our own choice. But the other side could be put. To be selfish or not? We know that the main function of masks is to prevent the wearer from spreading COVID to others, not protecting the wearer from contracting COVID, although it does that to a lesser extent. So, when we decide to wear masks, are we thinking about needing them to protect ourselves, or are we primarily thinking about protecting others? Is it what Boris allows, or what I should do? Would I want to sing in church without a mask if I am endangering the life of the 90-year-old sitting just 6 feet away from me? Choices and questions we need to ask ourselves as individuals and as a church. The book of Job may leave more questions than answers, but it does teach us that ultimately God is in control. The song that says,